Hi guys, LBC really does invite on the scummiest individuals from time to time, but generally these people are politicians. Now for some reason they had on Petronella Wyatt, former girlfriend of Boris Johnson. You know, the one who the mophead was having an affair with, which resulted in his wife having a miscarriage. You can probably understand what they see in each other. Anyway, she was on to tell the public that Boris Johnson is not only not a real Conservative, but he's also not a real Brexiteer. She may be right, but perhaps for the wrong reasons. Have a listen.
Now, lots of his relationships have gone south, and now it seems that his relationship with the Conservative Party has gone south. Do you think he cares about the Conservative Party, really? I mean, he's a leading Tory in the country, and lots of people assume he does.
But he's not a Tory at all. He's never had a Tory idea in his head. I remember discussing Disraeli with him once. He didn't even know anything about Disraeli's most famous speeches. He knew practically nothing about Robespierre. He's not a Tory. He's somebody who used the Tory party, but his views, and this is interesting, he attacks what he calls the Westminster elite, but he is so Westminster elite at heart. He's wealthy,
socially liberal.
Socially liberal, exactly. Believes in animal rights, carbon net zero. He is not some Lee Anderson.
Absolutely not. And when it comes to Brexit, he famously wrote the two essays, one pro and one anti.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think he was horrified when Brexit actually won.
So would you go as far to say that he was never a true Brexiteer?
Probably, yes.
Okay. Boris Johnson was never a true Brexiteer. Boris Johnson was never a true Conservative. Now, we knew this. Us on the outside of the Conservative Party, people who were not cheering Boris Johnson on, knew these things. Boris Johnson is a charlatan. Boris Johnson told people what they wanted to hear. I don't actually know if Boris Johnson has an ideology, because he's such a liar. Or the ideology is whatever's best for Boris Johnson. So he will pretend to be a liberal in order to convince liberals to back him. He'll pretend to be a conservative in order for conservatives to back him. A bit like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is all about Donald Trump. If Donald Trump thought he could win the Democratic primary, he would run as a Democrat. But he realized that the stupidest people in the US are Republicans, so it was better to run as a Republican. He doesn't care about abortion or whatever the conservatives are caring about. He understands that they will support him if he says the right things, if he tells them what they want to hear. And Boris Johnson is exactly the same. Now, I have nothing but contempt for Boris Johnson, and I don't understand what people see in him. And this lady used to be his girlfriend. What the heck did she see in Boris Johnson? Why would you spend time with such an individual? A charlatan, a liar. What did you see in him? Unless you're like that as well. Because that's the only conclusion I can come to. The only people who like liars and charlatans are liars and charlatans themselves. And this would perhaps explain why people like Nigel Farage, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Nadine Dorries, these people are attracted to people like Boris Johnson because he's like them. Charlatans and liars. People who are self-centered. People who only care about themselves. They see someone like Boris Johnson as one of them. That's the only conclusion I can come to. Scumbags attracting other scumbags. Instead of, it seems to be, honest people didn't come within a foot of Boris Johnson. A mile of Boris Johnson. Non-charlatans, whatever the opposite of a charlatan is, an honest person, wouldn't be seen dead with Boris Johnson because they understood of what he's like. They have nothing but contempt for him as well. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.